Hello, everyone. My name is Gus.
Hi, I'm Woody.
And today we have kind of adults only, perhaps, reaction. So if you're watching this with kids, you probably pick another video.
Okay.
But this is a YouTuber that I've watched for a while. This guy is, kind of an inspiration of the way he grew his audience. He started YouTubing in late 2020 and currently has over 2 million subscribers. Wow. So I think in 2021, he won the award of New YouTuber of the Year. Wow. And it's pretty funny. I like it because he's educational, but it's weird education and it's funny. Like the way he says things, the way he uses words, it's pretty funny.
Cool.
If you're not an English speaker, you may have a little bit of trouble following because he speaks pretty quick, pretty fast. But once again, warning for kids. If you're an adult, hopefully you enjoy this. So we're not gonna add any like important information here.
Oh,
this is just us watching with.
I mean, I have important information that are for adults only, but I don't know if
let's not get into that. I will say though that this is a compilation of 3 different videos that I pull randomly from him that talk about the sea or marine animals or some animals that we could find if we're diving.
Okay.
All right. So I took 3 videos and put one together, and this is it.
Dolphins have been known to play with themselves by wrapping live wriggling eels around their dolphin doorknobs. Oh, you know it gets worse. Dolphins will also divorce a fish's head from its body and then use the disembodied fish head as a fish light. There's videos. I'm not going to show you, but they're there. Dolphins can catch feelings for humans to the point where they get jealous. In 1994, a man got vibe checked so badly by a dolphin that he ended up dying of internal hemorrhaging. The reason? The dolphin saw him around some women that he liked and felt some type of way. The man broke his heart, so the dolphin broke his ribs and then punctured his lung for good measure. In 1965, Margaret Lowe was part of an experiment where we tried to teach dolphins English, and to get her dolphin to focus, the dolphin didn't apply, but he got a job.
Listen, hey, oh my goodness. One thing I do want to say, okay, because at the Georgia Aquarium, during the dolphin show, in the early years, they had the female and the male dolphins come out to perform at the same time. Unfortunately, many of the performances turned X-rated immediately. So now you'll notice that only the males are out, and then they get sent back, and then the females come out. They are promiscuous.
Experiment was cut short because it turns out unless it's shooting oil, playing tug-of-war with a dolphin's baby leg in a government-funded experiment is a terrible career move. After that, the dolphin got depressed and unsubscribed from life. Yes, capital S with a side at the end. Workers at a Florida research center smiled as they watched a bunch of dolphins play volleyball, and then stopped smiling when they realized they were just smacking around a baby shark, to the point where they had to go in and rescue it. Male dolphins will form gangs, kidnap a female, and hold her hostage, and then proceed to run through her like a track meet in violent choo-choo parties that can last weeks.
Wow.
And these water Weinsteins will tail smack her to keep her in line. If she tries to escape, they'll just chase her down. Dolphins only exist to serve the will of Satan. Say what you will about sharks, but Jaws would never. Oh.
So the title of that video was, the title of that video was, "We shouldn't be scared of sharks. We should be scared of dolphins."
Okay, so I wasn't going to talk about this, but Hank brought it up, so I'm not responsible. Hi, the children, this is the only warning you finna get. Okay, so I'm pretty sure the blowhole thing he's talking about is this godforsaken what the right here. So the fact here is that Amazon dolphins are believed to have, I'm gonna call it bowling. These dolphins are believed to participate in gay bowling matches, but instead of a lane, it goes down their blowhole. Now, in case you're confused about how dolphins, dolphin, they kinda need that to breathe. So this is basically like taking one up the nostril and then feeling it in your lungs like Cali Green. And considering dolphins will use live eels and decapitated fish heads as toys, I had no problem believing this. However, I was researching this because that's what my life has become, and I read that a dolphin research associate had said that he had never seen a dolphin violate another's blowhole like this. Also, fun fact, dolphins can't breathe through their mouth the way we can. So doing it up the blowhole would be like you holding your breath the next time you go bowling. Especially if since water starts rushing in, the dolphin could end up drowning. So yeah, I don't know if this is true. But my theory is that it doesn't happen often at all, but once in a while a dolphin will go bowling down the wrong lane. Also, since male dolphins will violate each other to assert dominance, I can promise you that whatever the hell this is, consent was sold separately. Also, if this has only ever happened once, it's already happened too often. Moral of this video, there is no safe way to explain my search history. Here's something about SpongeBob you probably didn't know. So you know how they live underwater yet there's a whole beach for no reason? We were all like, how is there water underwater? Well, there's actually such a thing as underwater lakes and rivers. In places like the Gulf of Mexico, seawater will often rise through the thick layer of salt that you'll often find at the sea floor. The rising water dissolves the salt layer, causing it to collapse, all while forming a depression. And of course, the dissolved salt makes the water in the depression denser than the seawater surrounding it, which is how you can end up with a river or lake in the ocean. Some of these underwater rivers can actually be a few miles long. And underwater rivers, which are really just a mixture of saltwater and hydrogen sulfide, behave and flow as normal rivers. Now here's where I f*** you up. These underwater brine pools are 3 to 8 times saltier than the seawater around it, which is why animals like this eel that get too close can end up getting toxic shock while getting trapped inside. So in a weird way, it's actually possible for underwater animals to drown inside these brine pools. This eel got lucky, but normally most animals that mess around and get that close don't come out alive. Moral of this video: Hillenberg was a f***ing genius. And just because of this comment, I'm finna f*** y'all up. First of all, this is a giant Pacific octopus, and yes, they can weigh up to 600 pounds. That's more than 2 washing machines and heavy enough to get a show on TLC. Also, octopus have no bones at all, and they don't have any air bladders or gas pockets, which is how they can survive being at the bottom of the ocean without the water pressure turning them into a chalk outline. If you tried to live with an octopus, you'd become an Instapack because your lungs would fill with blood and collapse as your body literally folds on itself. And fun fact, actually mildly disturbing fact, look at your door. No, seriously, look. An octopus that weighs the same as 2 shacks could fit under your door and crawl into your room. Since they don't have bones or bladders to hold them back, a 700-pound octopus could fit through a passageway not that much bigger than a quarter. Now obviously not all octopus tip the scales at 600 pounds, but all octopus can fit through things that your mental health probably isn't prepared for. Wow. That and the fact that octopus are probably the smartest things in the world that don't have a spine is how octopus can escape anything that wasn't built with them in mind. It's how Inky the octopus escaped an aquarium and it was never heard from again. It's also how this next video exists, and you're welcome in advance.
Just getting out of the boat.
Oh, that's wild. Look at that.
This is probably the most terrifying thing you'll ever see in the ocean. That thing is actually a big fin squid and is believed to grow up to 26 feet long. Scientists believe they hunt by dragging those freakish arms across the ocean floor, snatching up anything unlucky enough to accidentally brush up against it. But by far the scariest thing about this hell squid? We know almost nothing about it. We don't know how they mate, how they live. All we know for sure is that you can find them at the very bottom of the ocean at depths of up to 15,000 feet, which is more than half the height of Mount Everest. Here's the part that personally freaks me out. Every big fin ever caught was a juvenile, and since no adults have ever been captured, it's possible they can be even bigger than we thought. This sea slender man's arms are covered in tiny suckers, meaning once it grabs something, there aren't a lot of things strong enough to break free. Those arms can be over 90% of their total body length, and they hold it at a 90-degree angle, which makes this violation against nature look like it's T-posing. As technology improves, we might have a chance to learn more about them. Which isn't a good thing, they need to stay in hell. Whale facts, but they slowly get more and more disturbing. Blue whales can produce 400 gallons of baby batter, but only 10% of it makes it to the female, meaning 360 gallons get dumped back out. In case you're wondering, that's 8.5 bathtubs of whale maker. Gray whales will go 3-player with 2 males and a female. While the first male is getting his rocks off, the second wing whale will swim underneath the female and help hold her in place for a process that can last up to an hour. And friendly reminder, almost every sea monster story ever told was really about a whale's penis, and I will never let y'all forget it. Sperm whales are so loud that their sound can vibrate you to death by either causing your lungs to collapse or an air bubble to form in your brain, which would instantly take you off the senses. Blue whales are big, but not a lot of people understand how big. You can hear a blue whale's heartbeat from a little more than 2 miles away. They can swallow almost 500,000 calories at once. Allegedly, a whale's fart bubble can enclose a full-grown horse. And because I am who I am, I have to tell you that the largest blue whale penis was about 16 feet long and weighed anywhere from 700 to 900 pounds. Blue whales don't spray water out of their blowholes the way you see in movies. It's actually warm air being forced out of the lungs. It's basically its breath. It's one of the most unholy smells that can ever assault your nose. Like burning rubber in a fish cemetery. Because of that video, there's now people that believe the ocean is salty because of whale sperm. And I'm not gonna lie, I wish it were true because of the look on people's faces when I tell them this is free therapy, but it isn't. Most of the ocean's salt comes from rocks on land because when acidic rain hits the rocks, it erodes them and causes them to release salt. The salt gets carried out in streams and rivers where it eventually reaches the ocean. The reason the ocean is so salty is because this has been happening for millions on billions of years. Some of the salt also comes from hydrothermal vents at the bottom of the ocean, but most of the time when you taste seawater, the salt came from a rock, not a whale that already has. So yeah, you don't have to worry about salty seawater. Besides, you should probably be more concerned with the fact that your perfume used to be made from whale vomit. The more you know. Fish you should be most afraid of isn't the shark. It's the stonefish because it can deliver venom powerful enough to cause crippling pain and toxic enough to activate your life insurance in less than 2 hours. This fish is armed with a venom called a verrucotoxin, and as a neurotoxin, it shuts your body down from the inside. If you got stung, you would first feel incapacitating pain, swelling, and eventually numbness. But no worries, it gets worse. It always gets worse. If you don't get medical
worry,
attention fast enough, the poison would destroy tissues in the body, cause uncontrollable twitching and shaking, and eventually paralysis, meaning it would get harder and harder to breathe until you eventually black out. Victims describe the pain as getting continuously hit with a sledgehammer all over their body, and even if you survive, you could still walk away with permanent nerve damage and muscle atrophy. But there's two big reasons why this Satan guppy might be the most dangerous fish on Earth. One is this picture. Because the stonefish looks like a stone, it's so easy to accidentally step on one, and when you do, those spines would get shoved up your foot, and the harder you step, the more poison gets pumped into you. And number two, they can survive outside of water for up to 24 hours, meaning they don't have to be underwater to put you underground. Because Australia is the only place where mistaking a fish for a stone can get you to death penalty. You should never pick this shell up because it's actually one of the most venomous things on the planet. That's because the cone snail can shoot you with a harpoon at 400 miles per hour. That would be like getting struck by 14 Usain Bolts, because ironically this snail is one of the fastest animals on the planet, being able to hit you almost as fast as you can blink. That's not the only thing fast about them, because this murder slug was nicknamed cigarette snail because according to urban legend, if you got hit by one, you had enough time for a puff puff pass before you puff puff pass away. If you got stung, you would immediately feel extreme pain, swelling, numbness, and vomiting. But don't worry, it gets worse. It would escalate to muscle paralysis, double vision, and difficulty breathing. And once you get to that point, you can go ahead and start printing out shirts because you finna be on one. And even though the cigarette thing was an exaggeration, it could take only 5 to 8 hours for them to connect you to God's Wi-Fi. Now the problem with these snails is that they use venom to paralyze unlucky prey, and they'll even put them to sleep with a toxin that's 1,000 times more powerful than morphine, which works on fish and stupid people that pick them up. They don't just use one though, like Tyson, they be on them combos. They can have 50 different toxins in their venom, which is why there is no antidote. The only cure is to try not to die and become a Snapchat member.
Your child can visit steamy jungles, grassy plains, and the dark depths of the ocean.
I should probably explain what the hell this is. That was an angel shark, and that's the worst Call of Duty player you'll ever meet.
I'm learning more from this guy than many like
and he's
really sophisticated videos we've seen. He's
all
just
the
flying
videos are
through
like
facts.
this. Yeah,
But he's-
fact.
and he's got really good facts.
Yeah.
The angel shark will lie motionless for days waiting for anything bite-sized to accidentally pass above its head so it can take its life. Sounds like a cheat code, but there's no referee in the ocean, so this camel shark stab pads kills like no other. But you don't have to worry about them snatching up your leg because they're only interested in fish, crustaceans, and mollusks like squid. That being said, angel sharks are a lot like electrical power sockets. They're only dangerous if you're stupid enough to poke them. Now you would think that's common sense, but because these sharks stay perfectly still, scuba divers think it's a good idea to touch them, and that makes these sharks go from mannequin challenge to homicide. Luckily attacks are rare, and as long as you're not an idiot, this sea carpet won't fade you. Good thing too, because there's a shark in this picture and he may not be an angel, but he'll turn you into one. 8 reasons why this is your new favorite fish. Even though they can be up to 23 feet over 3,000 pounds, they're 100% perfectly harmless to people because they only ever eat plankton and small shrimp. Unlike stingrays, they're not venomous. This giant placemat couldn't hurt you if it wanted to. They're smart enough to understand mirrors because manta rays were seen waving and blowing bubbles at their own reflection, something they wouldn't do if they thought it was another manta ray. Manta rays will launch themselves out of the ocean, and they do it to get rid of parasites or to avoid predators, but sometimes it seems like they do it just for fun. They have the largest brain of any fish, making them arguably the smartest things in the ocean that don't also
never knew that.
Cosby. That isn't a
Really?
TV guide. Baby manta rays are called pups, and the mother will give birth to 1 or 2 pups every year. They're normally black, a dark brown, or a grayish-blue, but there are pink manta rays out there, and no, this is not edited. This pink manta ray was found off the coast of Australia on the Great Barrier Reef, proving that country is both a national treasure and Satan's jungle gym. They're smart enough to form strong emotional bonds with each other, and they're smart enough to ask for help. One repeatedly approached the diver until he realized that she had a fish hook stuck under her eye, and she waited patiently as he removed it. Once he removed it, she swam off. What would happen if you took one of the meanest animals in the ocean and gave it legs? Well, 2 things. 1, you'd have one of the most violently aggressive animals on Earth walking on land, and 2, I know this because it technically happened and they exist. It's a known fact that the biggest menace to society in the ocean are dolphins of any kind. They jump sharks for no reason, slapbox their babies, and they have a rap sheet longer than Drake's. And the worst dolphin of all actively tortures other animals for sport. Dolphins and whales are part of a group called cetaceans, which basically happened because this guy decided he wanted to test his luck out in the ocean and evolved to become semi-aquatic and then fully aquatic. But funny story, there was a group of these land animals that actually stayed on land, and about 54 million years ago they split up, with the animals that would become whales and dolphins heading out to sea. The ones that didn't follow them out into the ocean stayed on land, and after millions of years of plot development, they went on to become one of the most vicious animals in the world. In case I haven't made it obvious, I'm talking about hippos. The African homicide horse is actually the closest living relative of whales and dolphins. One's a bipolar tank with Roy Ridge and a devil's overbite, and the other's a pufferfish abusing shark assaulting sea quagmire, and that is f***ing evolution. You remember that dolphin sound effect from SpongeBob that was supposed to be like a
homicide
sensor?
horse.
You know what I'm talking about. Well, that sound didn't actually come from a dolphin. It was actually the sped up laughter of the kookaburra. It's a kingfisher bird found in Australia that sounds like a guy trying way too hard to laugh at a cute
This is a
girl's
freaking
jokes.
encyclopedia.
You may not be able to hear it, but when you double the playback speed, you can hear the sound that cartoons made you swear was a dolphin. Moral of this video, every dolphin sound effect you've ever heard on every TV show is really just an Australian crack tweetie. River otters in Yellowstone have been
All right, so this next piece is almost over. But this next piece is just animals having fun. Just stuff that animals do for fun.
But this guy is loaded with facts. I mean, you could watch this a few times.
This is one of the most addictive channels out there.
Okay, I
like
can see
you watch
why.
it for hours.
Yeah.
And it's just fact after fact after fact. No commercials. Just
No,
go.
he is amazing.
Yeah.
seen getting a running start and snow surfing down icy slopes. Now, at first scientists just figured it was their way of getting around. That theory fell apart when they watched the river otters run back up the slope like kids at a water park, only to slide back down. And that goes back to unrewarded play because the otters don't gain anything but a good time. And FOMO for otters is a real thing because you're more likely to see them sliding as a group than just solo. And like ravens, you can almost see how intelligence and playfulness almost goes hand in hand, especially since otters are considered to be the most intelligent of all mustelids, being part of the special class of animals that are able to use tools, to the point where river otters will seem to juggle rocks when they get excited. No, like seriously, we had no idea why they were doing this until researchers at a zoo noticed they started juggling rocks more when it got closer to their feeding time. We still don't know exactly what it is about food that makes otters start juggling rocks, but sometimes you need to just take a moment to stop asking why just to enjoy what's in front of you. Like, why do crocodiles like the color pink? Because according to anecdotal observations, crocodilians seem to have a pink preference, favoring tossing around small objects that look like the result of a red-white affair. It's why the prehistoric predator that's been terrorizing the planet for hundreds of millions of years can be seen picking pink flowers with its jaws. Crocs apparently have other ways of having fun. They'll take turns going down natural water slides and swim right back up and do it again. They'll give each other piggyback rides, just cuz. And there's even a story where animal behavior expert Vladimir Dene claimed to witness an alligator seemingly play with a group of river otters in Big Cypress in Florida because Florida. You know, I'm not even kidding. He has a whole paper on play behavior in crocodilians, and he talks about watching river otters regularly visit one specific gator and mess with him by getting close to him, nipping at his tail, and even splashing water on his head. Most gators would respond to this by just submerging, but this one gator played along by lunging at the otters. I know what you're probably thinking, and to that, I give you this. At one point, one of the otters slipped down the bank and was immediately grabbed by the gator. But instead of making an example out of it, the prehistoric Merc machine just released it perfectly unharmed. It was like a game that both of them were in on. And unlike wolves and ravens, gators and otters have legitimate beef in some parts. But like I said, sometimes you need to forget about the why and just enjoy the what. And what happened was, these games went on for a couple days until the marsh eventually dried up and the alligators and otters both moved on. That's not the only example of crocodilians at play, that just happens to be the best one I got. Another time was when a gator found a football in his swamp, and instead of easily popping it, it seemed to toy with it by grabbing it with his jaws and tossing it around. You know, I could 100% use this to make a Florida Gators joke, but at this point I think it would be low-hanging fruit. But crocodiles and alligators being playful goes right in line with the intelligence point I made earlier. Despite having a brain in the weight class of a walnut, crocodilians are much more intelligent than they get credit for. Unlike dolphins, who get all of the credit for it. Now you probably know dolphins like to have fun. The problem is, most of their pastimes would probably get this video age restricted with the quickness. Like for example, when two Amazon river dolphins were seen playing with a Benny anaconda. I put playing in quotes because both dolphins were visibly aroused, and the snake ended up flatlining, likely to drowning. And you know, knowing what I know about dolphins, that's probably what got them excited. Because most dolphin fun comes at someone's expense. I can repeat that same sentence without the fun and it'd still be accurate. I give you Exhibit A. But dolphins can have fun in safer work ways too. They'll take turns chasing each other in games that can last hours. They'll find random objects to carry around and even play catch with. Oh, and a little fun fact for you. One of a dolphin's favorite things to play with includes sargassum seaweed. Researchers actually watched dolphins in the Bahamas play a kind of keep-away game with the seaweed. But the best part was the dolphins were used to being around humans, and eventually they invited the researchers to play with them. And no amount of scientific integrity would stop any of us from saying no. Dolphins have also been seen surfing the bow waves produced by ships, sometimes for miles on end. It's not like they just do it to save energy. A group of spinner dolphins actually memorized the path scientists on a boat would take. So every morning the spinner dolphins would show up and ride the bow wave as the scientists traveled to their site. The dolphins would leave for a bit, but then return and do the exact same thing when the scientists started heading back. So yeah, it's really no surprise that the smartest thing in the ocean can be as playful as a child, because honestly, they're probably as smart as one. Wow, so smart that many believe that dolphins will purposely seek out pufferfish just to get them elevated. Apparently the tetrodotoxin that can discharge you from the population in minutes has something of a narcotic effect in small doses, to the point where people will swear by seeing dolphins take turns passing the puffer until they're all stuck on its product. And if dolphins were humans, they'd definitely be the ones huffing markers in class. By the way, you really shouldn't do that. But dolphins are far from the only ones that get elevated and hella faded. It's believed that cats will eat grass and leaves because they contain folic acid, which helps move oxygen around the blood. Plus, when they throw it up, it helps clean out their system. So it shouldn't be a surprise to see the biggest cat in America chewing on leaves. What's surprising is that it seems to put the jaguar in a trance and even induces kitten-like behavior, to the point where people believe that this apex predator will go out of its way to chew on leaves from the Yaji. And in doing so, they book a flight on the same plane as Joe Rogan. Scientists can't say for sure just why jaguars will go to these lengths to get zooted. Many natives will tell you that jaguars do it to buff their perception and senses, which heightens their hunting abilities. We don't know if the plants even affect them like that, but let's be real. We all know that look. That boy is gone. If your child ever came home looking like this, you definitely give them a talking to. So it's in my non-professional opinion that jaguars will purposely get off one when they're not busy hunting for a living. Because when nothing in the jungle can press you, you can afford to.
Boy, this one was like just watching us enjoy.
I left that last one about the cat in there because we have several friends that really love cats and have cats, so I figured we would throw that one in as a bonus. But yeah, I mean, this guy is just back after back after back, fact, just, you know, a lot of stuff. But all the facts are stuff that you didn't know. They're like obscure things.
Really cool.
You know? I think the first time I watched one of his videos, he made one about the peregrine. That's when the peregrine came out from sheer water. So I think I went to YouTube and searched for peregrine.
And he came
up. So I watched it. And apparently peregrines are really vicious, like terrible birds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like bloodthirsty, terrible birds. So that's when
But who knew that the manta ray had the largest brain of any? Did he have any marine life?
I think
he
he talks any fish or something.
That's
like
incredible.
That.
I did not know that.
It's amazing.
And I did know that dolphins tend to be very sexual. But I mean, no, he's pretty cool and he's really, really smart.
Yeah,
really, really smart.
Yeah, I really like it. So anyway, it's one of those where, sorry, we're not talking about diving or cave diving on this one. This was just enjoyable. Yeah. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. The weekend is coming up. Relax.
Yeah.
Right. That's what this video was awesome. About, to embrace the weekend and have fun. We're diving this weekend, by the way.
Cave diving.
Love it. And again, hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you in the next one. And oh, by the way, hold on before we do that. I just wanted to mention there are some funny videos that we have reacted to in the past where there's not a whole lot of substance to it that we can add from the diving perspective. And I'm going to leave one of them right here, so you guys can check that out.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
We'll see you in the next one.